The Suicide Squad situation somehow keeps getting worse.
It's taken a really long time for Rocksteady to follow up their highly acclaimed Batman Arkham series, 9 years to be precise, and it's not going well. Behind the scenes drama,
True.
angry fans, server issues, everything you'd expect to see in a highly divisive launch is here.
It really is the perfect storm, isn't it?
And accounted for. There's a lot of anger getting thrown around at the moment, and unfortunately it's almost entirely justified. There is a lot to talk about with this game.
True.
Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks we're going to ask the question, just what the hell is going on with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Before we get going at all, I gotta give you a spoiler warning.
Okay.
I'm gonna spoil the hell out of the game, up to and including the ending. If that's a thing
Everyone already knows what's happening in the ending, and that's the reason why some people are pissed, okay? Now, there's not a lot to defend about this game, but there are two things that I will defend this game on. First of all, this is not an actual follow-up series to the Arkham Knights or the Arkham games or whatever. This is a completely separate, different entity. It's just based in pretty much the same place. That's it. But it is a separate game. And I feel a lot of people just refuse to, for some reason, accept that. Okay? And the second is, the amount of people who are pissed that they not forcibly bought a Suicide game, and then turns out they're not the good guys, is insane. There are countless people currently mad on the internet about the fact that they bought a game where they're playing as the baddies who are doing bad things, and they don't save the Justice League and then make friends with them, and then you can't play with Batman. There's not a lot to defend this game on, but man, I will defend this game on those two things.
that matters to you, the X is the thing you should probably click right now. But I think you're going to want to stick around, because you know a game is going to be trouble when even the previews from major gaming websites are like universally negative. Here's the thing. Among enthusiast circles, the game has been a punching bag for years now, after endless delays and major leaks which have...
We saw the trailer for this. Even in the trailer, the camera was janky, and at some points it just teleported kind of in other places. You could see from the gameplay, the gunplay is bad. The movement is terrible for a lot of characters, and it feels sluggish and boring. And the takedowns take so long that I can start the family, grow old, reincarnate, and be right back in the chair about the time they end. It's not great. The gameplay itself was just the absolute biggest red flag possible, because this was bad on all accounts.
Have all turned out to be pretty much spot on in their implications. People have been ready and set to hate this game. Rocksteady's previous games, the Arkham series, are highly curated single-player adventures with tons of content, and not just any content, unique, good content, and a bunch of creative shifts in gameplay. The stealth system upended the stealth genre, turning you from prey to predator, and the combat system was copied by just about everybody else. It cannot be understated just how influential the Arkham games were. I don't know what's more important to state, that they're easily the best Batman.
And Harley Quinn was absolutely hot in those games also. Just saying.
In games ever made, or that they're some of the best.
Now she's actually... People don't like this Harley Quinn, but that's because she's kind of not hot in the slightest. She's a disappointment. She's a disappointment to the eyes. But I do think her personality in this game is pretty good, because Harley Quinn has always and forever will be a literal psycho. And she does a lot of psycho things that don't make sense and are stupid because of that. And say what you will, they stuck to that character pretty well in this game. Maybe not intentionally, who knows, but they did.
Games of their generation. So to go from that to an online-only, games-as-a-service co-op shooter about grinding for loot and collecting...
Dude, look at that. That's Captain Boomerang right there. Do you know why they call him Captain Boomerang? Because he's really good at shooting guns. Yeah. He should change his name to Captain Gunman. Makes sense.
As a service co-op shooter about grinding for loot and collecting daily rewards is just not what anyone wanted.
Oh, look at this disappointment. Sad.
Follow-up. And for a lot of people, it's not just a disappointing turn from a previously very good developer, it's a straight up betrayal. Is that a little hyperbolic? Yes. I'm not going to claim it's not, but also it's how people are reacting, and I think you can at least see where they're coming from. I mean, the name itself is enough to set people off.
I see, and I understand. Yeah, but I don't agree with this part. Again, you're playing as the villains. It's not a sequel to the Arkham games. You can't really be mad about that, unless you want to be a spoiled child about it.
Kill the Justice League, the premise alone custom built to make certain people upset. This is a game where you play as the Suicide Squad, and your mission is to kill the main members of the Justice League. All your favorite heroes, Batman, Superman, the Flash, Green Lantern, you gotta kill them. It's on the tin.
Also, the Flash boss fight battle is the most uniquely bad thing in the game, probably. So it's a giant arena where you need to fight the Flash, and he's a speedster. Worst speedster in the history of comics, by the way. Prove me wrong, you can't. And this is how the fight interacts. You have this giant arena. Flash spawns at this point. Then you have to slowly run up to him and maybe shoot him 2 times. He throws maybe a lightning at you, and then he zips away to another location. You have no idea where he is, and you have this giant arena. And you need to repeat this process until you win. It is as bad as it can be. Again, the gameplay is by far the worst part about this game. It's just bad on all accounts.
In my opinion, actually not a bad premise for a game. Like, that has the potential to be the best boss rush of all time, right? But they explicitly say this is in the Arkham universe, and that sours a lot of people's fun. Also, the heroes are victims of mind control. Aliens are controlling them. So, kill them. They're evil now, but they're not really evil. But you still gotta kill them. Go ahead, kill them. And I'm not gonna...
But they are evil. But they are evil.
I'm gonna say this premise could not have worked with a deft hand at the writer's desk, but you'll get what I'm alluding to in a moment when I get into the story. Unless we get a full-on expose of just what was going on behind the scenes, we just don't know why the game turned out the way it did. We know the game had a rocky development. Hell, the 2 founders of the studio, Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill, left the company in 2022 while the game was still being worked on. When the founders leave the studio, that's kind of rarely a good sign. But they didn't just leave, they left mid-development of the game, and the warning lights come on there, if they come on anywhere. On top of the...
Man, the warning lights are the fact that they couldn't make even a decent city. Like, look at this. This is a mess. Look at this absolute jumbled mess of no one understands what the hell is going on. Here's a... I think that's not a statue, but that's engraved inside a building. It's a metropolis. It's a what? Why is there a bridge going throughout all of the city? How does that make sense? Why is there a bridge floating in the sky? Did they put these tentacles just there because they wanted to fill the skybox with something? I don't know, probably. Even the world is so poorly designed, it's absolute... there's just nothing good to say about it. It feels like someone took, I don't know, a GTA 5 small part of a cul-de-sac, and then they said, now let's make something larger because we need traversal options for our characters. And then they just implemented a bunch of wacky, goofy shit that doesn't make any sense in real life. This is bad. This is unquestionably bad.
There, if they come on anywhere. On top of the internal drama that was reported on, the studio suffered a number of high-profile leaks that all but spoiled the entire story well before the game even came out. Most of the time, these leaks sort of lead to misunderstandings, misinformation about what a game's story actually is. But Suicide Squad, no. Everyone was right to not like what they were seeing. Because of the live service nature of the game, basically the entire story is told through long, not great cutscenes. This isn't like Arkham where major story events happen in the game. Everything story related outside of boss fights is told through cutscenes. So it's easy to piece together the story without missing a lot, and the result is not great. Then, after all this, something happened that nobody could have anticipated. Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman.
Man, I saw the Riddler. Someone left the most greatest comment in the history of comments ever. So, in the Arkham games, there were the Riddler side quests, well, not side quests really, but the Riddler riddles, let's call them that, and you could solve them. And the point of those riddles was that the Riddler wants to be smarter than the Batman to prove himself. But in the Suicide Squad, you also have something similar to the Riddler's riddles. And what is he trying to prove in the Suicide Squad game? That he's smarter than King Shark? He's a shark. It's kind of hilarious.
Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, not just from the Arkham games previously, but also from the animated series. He died tragically in 2022, which made the game one of his final roles, which a murderous, mind-controlled Batman who gets clowned on and insulted by the Suicide Squad is not the best way to go out. So it made it so the story wasn't just bad.
Yeah, true, but what do you want? The game canceled for his voice lines to be sacked? The guy took on the role of doing the voice. He most likely was okay with whatever's happening there. It's not like he passed out and did the voice lines and had no idea what's happening. He knew it. He chose it. He maybe liked the idea of the project. And people are demanding that pretty much these voice lines get removed because it's a bad way to go out for the voice of Batman. He chose this. What right have you to decide that what he chose he wants to do is bad? None.
In people's eyes, in a lot of ways it felt disrespectful and an insult to the character Conroy played for about 30 years. Here's the thing.
Yeah, because you know his life better than him.
Know that this controversy would be quite as fervent if they weren't trying to sell this game as a follow-up to the Arkham games. If this was some kind of standalone thing about an evil Batman, there'd be some people griping about it, but like, this is canon to the Arkham timeline. I think if it hadn't been, the negative voices wouldn't have been quite so loud, but there is a lot of
Is this canon? It's set in a completely different universe. There is no way they keep this canon. Also, what I honestly don't care if they make this canon in the Arkham universe. They can make whatever they want later on, and this has no impact on anything if they don't want it to. So that's not a big deal.
Negativity surrounding this game. So much so that it makes you think it can't possibly be that bad, right? This is Rocksteady we're talking about. These guys know what they're doing. This is not the same Rocksteady that made the Arkham games, though. On the first day of early access, which was only available to people who dropped $100 on the Ultimate Edition of the game, go figure, the entire game was inaccessible for most of the day because of a bizarre bug that started new players off with 100% completion. The devs were already on the defensive. They gave $20 of in-game currency as compensation so players could buy costumes. Some of these bundles can cost up to $40, and the game gives you no way of earning currency or store items in-game. So they're already not off to a great start.
Classic.
They're also not providing review codes to most major websites, and that's not a good sign.
Yep, we discussed this absolute 100% giant red flag. But again, this game was a whole giant red flag to begin with.
I mean, sometimes you get a Doom 2016, which also didn't do that, and it turns out to be, like, a total banger. Some lunatic in the marketing department is like, let's make people think it's gonna be bad, and then it's awesome. And it works because it's awesome. I'll go ahead and say I don't think that the marketing industry is usually filled with creative lunatics like that. And most of the time withholding codes like this,
I can tell you for a fact the marketing industry is filled with people who literally don't know what 2 plus 2 is. And I'm not even making this up. Some of the people in marketing do not understand basic plus minus math. Now, you can argue, yeah, that's not what marketing's supposed to do. But, I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of have questions about trusting in general someone who doesn't know, or who legitimately doesn't know what 2 plus 2 is. Call me trust issue-y, but you know, it is what it is.
it's because the publisher doesn't have a lot of confidence in the game. Here's the thing, though. The game I played wasn't a total disaster, but it's a pretty disappointing one. It's got a lot of controversial elements that are sure to rile up both Batman fans, superhero fans in general, and here's the real kicker, in my opinion. Anyone who respects good game design. I'm one of these people who doesn't care about canon. Like, if you want to tell an interesting story and it breaks canon and does something even disrespectful to characters, I'm cool with that if it works. But it doesn't work. But even if we can't bank on that, a game with good game design that is fun, I don't care. Sadly, this is a game that has not one, not two, not three, not even four. Do you want me to keep counting? I'm not going to. I'm just going to say how many. 7. It has 7 main story missions where you defend a car while it slowly drives down a road and enemies
Yeah, the game's atrocious. True. Absolutely true.
Spawn in and attack it. I want to reiterate, this is not the Rocksteady that made the Arkham games. I don't know what kind of staff is turned over there, but it ain't the same company. Now, I will say, in terms of control...
Now. We kind of know what kind of staff made this game. A pretty woke staff. That we can easily attest to. From Poison Ivy, from the interviews, from the things that happen in the game. We know that there has been a lot of ESG score involved in the making of this game. Hope it was worth it.
And world design, Rocksteady still knows what they're doing. The minute-to-minute gameplay feels pretty good, and the small chunk of Metropolis this game takes place in is fantastic and is full of these cool little details, but everything else feels lacking because the game's focus is being an open-world loot-grinding mill. The entire story is basically one long tutorial for the end game, and by the time the credits roll, the entire Kill the Justice League premise feels like an afterthought. It's a game that could have easily just been its own thing, but it really lays it on thick with the Arkham references right from the start.
Dude, you know what I really like? I actually remembered one comment we saw on the review of this game from a different channel, and it was, "Oh my god, we don't even know what we're doing as the Suicide Squad in this game. That's so stupid." Well, do you want it to be lore accurate or not? If we're talking about lore accurate, Suicide Squad has literally never any clue what they're doing. Waller picks up Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, then gives them some kind of animal pet, and then she sends them off to pretty much die. And no, they never know what they are doing there, really, or what's the point of that. That's pretty lore accurate if you ask me. Tell me a single situation where where Suicide Squad has been sent into a mission and Waller was like, yeah, this is what you're gonna do, this is why you're gonna do it, and this is why it needs to be done. No, it's go in or head go boom. Very simple, and I like it. That's the Suicide Squad.
The entire intro to the squad is an extended riff on the opening to Batman Arkham Asylum with the same shots, same music, everything. Later on, one of the best sequences in the game, might I add, has you sneak through a Batman museum with callbacks and references to all the Arkham games, and it does a pretty good job recapping the plot. The game wants to make it 100% clear that yes, this is the next game in the Arkhamverse. It is legitimately interesting to finally see what happened to Batman after the teaser at the end of Arkham Knight, but then you remember that, oh yeah, the Batman everyone likes is an alien zombie now, and he's got to die. It's great hearing Kevin Conroy in the role again, and it's actually kind of amusing seeing him ham it up as a villain, but some of his scenes have really set people off. And let's be clear here, the treatment of Batman isn't the only part of the story making people mad. It's pretty much the entire Justice League. They all have awkward, ignoble fates that are bound to rile up a fanboy or two, but...
Yeah. Obviously. What do you think is going to happen? The bad guys are going to get rid of them and then hold a memorandum in honor of their memory? No, of course not.
Batman really gets it the worst. There's a scene where we get the double whammy of him giving a heartfelt message to the rest of the Bat family about how to defeat him and his friends if they turn evil. And the Suicide Squad laugh at it and fast forward through the message. And oh yeah, you...
That is such a Suicide Squad thing to do, though. I do like that. Yeah. Psychopathic murderers don't really care about... Shocking. Man, we're traveling new grounds here, aren't we?
You could see Robin's bloody mask on the floor, implying that Batman killed his adopted son Robin. It's likely the rest of the Bat family are dead too, meaning his own proteges couldn't beat Batman, but you four idiots somehow managed to do it. After you engage Batman in a horror segment,
Yeah, it honestly kind of almost makes sense that they can't do it because the Bat family cares about the Batman and their first instinct would be to save him, not actually just get rid of him. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with these decisions.
that goes on too long. After you beat Batman with the game's weirdly anticlimactic battle, you haul his knocked out body over to the Earth 2 version of Lex Luthor, which, by the way, this universe's version got his heart ripped out by the Flash. It's just another...
Well, not that. He looks horrible.
Another one of these games shocking for its own sake scenes that doesn't really amount to a lot. So you put Batman in a shrink ball and you can play catch by throwing him to other Suicide Squad members because funny, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds like a Suicide Squad thing to do also. Again, people are literally getting mad that Suicide Squad does Suicide Squad things. I find that stupid. I don't like that, dude. Okay, yeah, you like Batman, then don't play the game. Don't complain that the other characters are doing other character things.
Funny. And then in Luthor's lab, Batman starts to say the iconic stuff from the opening to Batman, the animated series, before getting poked with a needle and making a cartoon falsetto noise. A better written game could probably pull off this kind of dark comedy tonal whiplash, but a better written game, it's not. The other most infamous scene is probably Batman's death. The squad take Batman to the park as bait to confront Superman. They ban...
I love this, actually. I love that Harley Quinn just unapologetically executes him like a nothing. And gives a Harley Quinn speech. I don't like the look of this Harley Quinn, but again, her personality is as psychotic as it can be. I don't like the new Harley Quinn that is literally front and center. The only hope that the DC universe currently has in cinema, that they're trying to make her this anti-villain thing that's actually good or something. I don't like that approach. I like the interesting Harley Quinn, the psychotic one, not the constantly second-guessing one that makes no even less sense than the psychotic one.
For a bit, nothing all that interesting is said, and Harley shoots Batman in the head.
And by the way, you can disagree with that. That's fine. This is just personal preference at the end of the day. And a lot of people do not share this personal preference, but I personally like it.
I'll say this again, it doesn't necessarily bother me personally as badly, but I get why it bothers people. You played as him in the 3 other games. And oh yeah, it's Batman.
Yeah. How about you separate your personality from a game? How about that?
And we're not really super used to seeing Batman take a bullet to the brain and having it actually mean something beyond you did the action sequence incorrectly and have to start over. I don't really know what the tone is supposed to be here. Is it sad? Is it funny? It is shocking.
It is a fitting end to the Batman delivered by Harley Quinn, arguably the second or third most fitting character. Fourth second fitting character, arguably, to end him in a situation like this where they don't even care about saving him. I think it's very fitting.
Shocking, but maybe not.
It's not supposed to be shocking. It's supposed to be the natural conclusion of things that this game is supposed to be, technically, on the story level.
Quite as bad as when Captain Boomerang whips his dick out to pee on the Flash, which, by the way...
A very Captain Boomerang thing to do indeed. I mean, the guy throws boomerangs around in an age where guns are available. He is, arguably, more insane than Harley Quinn.
Way happens, and also everyone compliments him on the size of his dick, which
that's also an extremely Suicide Squad thing to do. Again, all these things that people hate, in my opinion, are exactly what the Suicide Squad is meant to be. Completely.
Nice, What the hell is going on here? Of course, it's also likely that none of these characters are actually dead in terms of the game's story. There are just enough clues here to suggest that they're all still alive somehow, either kept alive by Brainiac, or they're clones, or they're replaced with alternate universe doubles, or some crap like that. It just doesn't fix the not funny and awkward death scenes. Even if it gets undone later in...
It's not supposed to be funny. Someone whipping their schlong out and pissing on a dead guy is arguably not supposed to be funny in the first place.
DLC, we still had to watch a scene where Batman gets shot in the head on a park bench, and it's not really played for laughs.
I mean, ask yourself this. What's worse? Them executing the Batman, or the Batman letting the Joker go 200 billion times and he ends up killing millions of people? Which one is really the bad one? Which one is really the villain? Oh, but Batman is 1/3 evil. True. Double true. Wow, look at that. The universe is telling me a message.
Or for pathos, like, it seems to not really matter, and that's the weirdest part about it. At that point, it just seems kind of like they're trying to wrap things up. Overall, the story is a mess, and that's where all the easiest outrage comes from, but it's hardly the only problem in the game that fans are pointing out. Another issue...
Do you want to see a mess? Go watch a DC movie, then you're going to see a mess.
...is, well, the graphics. I'm not going to come out and say that this is...
Oh, look at this absolute atrocious mess of nothing making sense. Why is there a magical... What is this? A high? Yeah, it's... No, it's not a highway because there's not... There's two lanes. There's two lanes, one in each direction. This is not even a highway. This is just nonsense for the sake of nonsense. I do hate the world so much. Nothing makes sense here. It's abysmal. There is no saving grace to the world that has been constructed here. It's a 5-year-old child's Lego fever dream.
An ugly game. It can look pretty damn nice sometimes even.
No.
And on PlayStation 5 at least, it runs silky smooth, but when you directly compare certain aspects of it to Arkham Knight, it's tempting to wonder what the hell they've been doing the last 9 years. Like, Arkham Knight came out in 2015. That is 9...
Hiring people who fit ESG score criteria, I can tell you that. Not a secret.
9 years ago. That's almost a full decade, and it holds up extremely well. The rain-soaked city streets still look amazing now, today.
True.
The character models still look great. You can clearly see there's a difference in technology when you compare the facial...
I don't care about any of these differences in technology, okay? They just thought that this absolute perfection is bad. And that this is somehow magically better. Sad. Sad days.
There's a difference in technology when you compare the facial animation in Arkham Knight to Suicide Squad, but the differences are not so distinct in a lot of other ways. Take, for example, a panning shot at night. In Arkham Knight, the world is vibrant and beautiful at night. Well, in Suicide...
True, even though I don't like, actually, this world also. It's also technically a fever dream, but it looks way better. Because it still looks better and it's made at least more realistic. I mean, how many magical rainbow roads do you see through there here? Not a lot.
Beautiful at night. Well, in Suicide Squad, just feels barren and empty. A flat gray color tinted city. During the day, the city looks much, much better, but ironically, it actually gets uglier and uglier as the game progresses. It's cool to see the city transform from a modern metropolis to a dusty post-apocalyptic disaster area, but the end result is you take a beautiful city and make it ugly. Also, the idea of ugly here is kind of bland, just brown and gray, and PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era-ish. Not necessarily in terms of quality, but definitely in terms of color palette. It's not something I want to focus too much on because, for the most part, this is actually a good-looking game. But if you're making the follow-up to what's one of the best-looking games of all time, still a decade after its release, you're going to get comparisons, and with this game, they are just not always flattering. And you know, you've probably been waiting to say this because I'm me. You know this was coming. If there is one thing that really, truly drags this game down, it's the live service element. It's why the gameplay's been flattened out into a shooter where most of the game is played by completing these basic multiplayer style objectives in a small open world map. The story negatively affected as well. The need to sell the end game to the player completely undermines the narrative in one of the most bizarrely terrible finales I have ever experienced. So I mentioned you use Batman to lure out Superman, right? Well, after that, you beat Superman, and the game immediately jumps into introducing the actual villain behind the whole evasion, Brainiac. But instead of setting up the epic...
What do you mean, actual villain? Do you not see Brainiac kinda attacking the city? The world, probably, honestly? Am I the only one who thought that the Brainiac is probably the big bad here? Wow. Man, I mean, Brainiac attacks the world. Brainiac is the actual villain. The Brainiac has been taking over the superheroes with brain manipulations and whatnot. Oh wow, I wonder who's gonna be the real leader of these bad guys. Is it gonna be the Green Lantern? Whoa. No, it's obviously Brainiac.
Finale where you infiltrate the mothership and take this guy down once and for all. The game just stops all the momentum of the story to sell you on the end game. Seriously, my jaw was on the floor when this was all happening. Your bird Falcon hates live service shit, right? Hate it. I hate it. And even I was kind of amazed by this. You might be able to expect I've seen quite a bit of live service shit at this point. Like, they don't just sell you on the end game. The end game effectively nullifies all of your actions going forward. And I just have to say this. It's almost like they put effort into making it bewilderingly bad. So before you even fight Brainiac, you find out that beating Brainiac is pointless because there's 13 of these guys.
Yeah, that's nothing new. That is a Brainiac thing to do. Surprise, surprise. Wow, look at that. Yeah, that's a very much Brainiac thing to do.
In different universes, so killing one of them doesn't matter. Now, in an actual story, this would be a bluff, or you and your plucky heroes would come up with some way to defeat him once and for all, but this is a live service game, so there's gotta be an end game, so enjoy endlessly grinding those Brainiacs right at the finish line. The game removes all the stakes.
True, that is annoying, that is stupid. But yeah, it is technically a Brainiac thing.
Attention of the story and replace it with the dawning realization that this is what they expect us to keep doing in perpetuity. This is the service that you are intended to live in, the live service. It makes the entire...
Dude, watching Captain Boomerang throw a boomerang and teleporting to it actually pisses me off so much. Because this is effectively just a blink from World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft's a 20-year-old game at this point. And even they could make blink instantaneous. But here, no. The time that you spent phased out of existence is technically a loading screen. There is no redemption for this game at the end of the day, it's true.
Are intended to live in the live service. It makes the entire final story segment feel completely hollow, and the epic final showdown with Brainiac number 13,
True.
It's just a flash again.
Useless.
That's how they chose to end the game, with a total whimper. Most live service games still manage to have a satisfying enough story. I mean, hell, even the Avengers game had a proper boss and an ending, but this game does not even clear that low bar. They seriously expect there to be 6 distinct seasons with 2 new Brainiacs each to fight.
Yes. It's a live service game at the end of the day. Of course. Naturally.
Will Rocksteady even be around that long? I don't know.
Good question, though. Good actual question.
But one fight with this guy, that is enough for me. Suicide Squad is a game running at cross purposes. For people who just want to grind repetitive missions with their friends, there is some fun to be had here. The movement powers are all pretty great, and the combat generally
I find that hard to imagine, are you sure?
does feel good to play, but it's not enough, and it's definitely not Arkham. Beyond that, it has
Harley Quinn and Deadshot's movement abilities seem so ridiculously slow.
this story, which gets in the way anytime you feel like you're starting to have fun, which is rare because even good gameplay is boring as hell when there's no reason. And that's what my problem with live service games is, and it's what the problem with this game is, in my opinion, at least. People looking for a proper follow-up to Rocksteady's Arkham games are just gonna get mad. There's a bunch of strange story choices here, and it also obviously doesn't play like an Arkham game. There's some small elements there, and there's even some story things that allude back to the Arkham games that, you know, I don't hate. But like, the game doesn't even have a real ending. It's a bizarre game that mostly left me wondering how this took 9 years to make. Development had to have been rebooted multiple times.
Starfield also took Starfield took 8 years to make, didn't it? Ah, well, close enough.
That's the only explanation why this brief 10 or so hour story with a pretty small open world and limited gameplay loop took so long. Even after playing it to completion, I am still wondering what the hell is going on with Suicide Squad. I'm sure this is a game that will have its defenders. Like I said, some elements of the gameplay are actually pretty good. And beyond...
No, Where was it? The gameplay is absolutely undefendable. Anyone who tries to defend any gameplay element of this game, no, just no. But the story beats, a lot of them are Suicide Squad. In my opinion, they are. I would defend the story, but I would absolutely just trash the gameplay. Well, not all of the story. Some of the story is absolute just mind terror. But, you know, it is what it is.
Beyond that, it's just a really divisive, high-profile game. So that's gonna happen, but in my opinion, it's just undeniably flawed. As far as live service games go, yeah, there's worse out there, both in terms of monetization and gameplay, but this isn't the game that fans want. Like, there's a reason people love the Arkham games. Some will say it's the story, but I'm gonna argue it's not just the
Well, a lot of games that the fans don't want actually turn out to be really great. He even did an example of this. Doom. People thought it's gonna be a disaster. Guess what? One of the best games of all time. Bam! There you go. A lot of games, fans don't think they want them. And then they come out and they're amazing. Trying to say that they did a bad job by not releasing the... Well, what is it? 37th Assassin's Creed with the same mechanics from the first game and nothing improved is a good choice. I don't know about that. I want game companies to try something new, you know, break new ground, new ideas. Look at Last Epoch. Last Epoch will completely redesign a lot of things that people seek in Path of Exile Diablo-like games when it comes out. And no one asked for Last Epoch. Literally, no one asked for Last Epoch. And yet, it's shaping up to be an absolute, complete, huge W.
Story. And given the fact that so many live service game studios are reporting huge layoffs and not getting very good earnings, failing to meet expectations, it seems like Rocksteady is anchoring themselves to a sinking ship. I hope that's not the case, because nobody wants to see people lose their jobs.
I do. I do. I am for banning, removing, firing all of these people. I 100% am.
And for like this of all things, but Rocksteady could have avoided this if they didn't make, or rather weren't forced to make, a live service game, because you have to imagine somebody shoved this down their throats, right? All we wanted was a single player Arkham follow-up. That's all you had to do, guys, and it's probably all they wanted to do. And yet here
No, that's the people who are currently working in Rocksteady probably hate the Arkham games. That would be my guess. They probably absolutely hate the Arkham games and everything they represent. I think the people making this game were happy to make what they did.
We are. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video,
Anyway, that was Game Ranks. Anyway, good stuff. So, I don't know. It's getting stale, the Suicide Squad stuff. Every discussion is the same. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Why isn't the Batman the hero? Well, because of reasons. Deal with it. Anyway, I think that maybe this is us being finally done with Suicide Squad, because I feel that now these discussions are actually going more or less in a circle. But anyway, this was Quizzer Sen. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.